Person 41. So your energy engages me in the heart center, and as I walk through the door, it's actually a disco ball and a party going on, and it's literally a disco. The lights are shining. I see like everybody in the John Travolta white onesie jumpsuit doing disco moves. So I laugh, and it's wonderful, and it's a party, and it's all in your honor. And as we move to the sacred space of the heart, to the door that represents that area for me, I walk through, and I'm instantly taken by these lights, and it's these green lights that are above me and below me. So it's almost like a jetway. How the flashing lights are on the side of a jetway where a plane would land, but now it's not on your left and right side, it's on the top and the bottom. And these lights are in like these, like the center of the driving lane, those dashes, it's like that, but they're moving towards an endpoint at the end of my room. And so these green lights are like moving rapidly from above my head and below my feet and angling me to walk towards the very end of the room. And so I follow it, and as I get to the very end of the room, there's this green lotus flower, and it's like a transparent energy. And so I go over, and it wants me to sit in the middle of it. So I sit in the middle of this lotus flower, and the lotus flower's leaves curve in around me. And so I'm instantly thinking heart chakra, because lotus flower is definite representation of the chakras. And so as I'm there, I'm guided to understand what's going on. And so I run through, is this about unconditional love? And I get that it was it? No. It's about harmony. No, balance. Was it? I'm running through. I think I said unconditional love first. Oh, and they said no. And then I said, is it about harmony and balance? And they said no. And they spit me out every time they say no. And then finally I asked, is this about the bridge? And they said yes. And so, and the lotus flower basically disappears. And now I move back towards my seat where I bring in the chakra energies. And as I pull down the root chakra, I get propelled out towards the rainbow road. So I know this is about heart chakra and root chakra, so I'm assuming it's going to be about the emotional, mental of the heart chakra, and the physical in life, your physical world from the root chakra. So in the rainbow road, you actually lie down inside the rainbow, as it's like an airy mist around you, and you pull your hands up over your chest like you're one of the ancient pharaohs beginning a mummification process. And so as I recognize this, I see those, I don't know what they're called, those hooked staffs appear in your hand. Your eyes are closed, and then you start, I think it's the embalming process, but you get wrapped in the linens, and basically you get mummified. And so then your body starts to move towards the portal, and as you move through the portal, you get cremated, which is really interesting because I don't think pharaohs or back in Egypt were cremated, but I got that this was the process of moving through the afterlife. And so as you were cremated, then you grab my hand, and you're an angel, and you're just basically translucent energy at this point. And you grab my hand, and we go soaring up into the sky, into the clouds. And this is when you become an angel, and you start talking to me, which is really interesting because this hasn't happened with anybody's energy yet. You actually became your higher self right then and there, and started telling me just like unloading on me. So it was really interesting. We're not in the Akashic records at this point, but your energy chose to present itself in this way. So you start telling me basically that we're all here as humans living a spiritual existence. These are words and phrases I've heard many times. And so you just keep repeating this to me. You said, do you know we're all here as humans living a spiritual existence, here to bring as much unconditional love as we can to each other. We're here to show each other that we're all divine beings living here in this world, simply to recognize ourselves as the divinity that we choose to come here to be. And every day we live out this divinity trying to engage each other to show each other just how divine and wonderful our purpose is here. And you told me that we're, every day is to be savored, and that your purpose here on earth is to bring as much unconditional love to those around you that you can. And so then you're kind of pointing me back towards the mummification process you went through, and then to the lotus in the very first scene. And I get that you're somehow beginning to block this, and there's some kind. And you told me what was it? You said that you're starting to put up a subtle layer. I don't think those were the words you used, but I got the feeling that it was this very minute covering over your heart center. And the mummy was an extreme example of this, or maybe that was just to get you into the energy form to go into the afterlife for the higher self. But I got that you were telling me that you're beginning to put a little bit of a shield or a protective layer over your heart center, and that this is beginning to, and so back to the front, first lotus, green flower lotus, this is inhibiting the bridge or the connection to full divinity throughout basically like every waking moment of your life, right? So it almost seemed like a call to action for you to recognize that you're slightly starting to block this center, and that the divine love and the universal love. And what you were saying was that there's situations and you're being called upon right now in a way that you maybe haven't been before. I feel like the feelings I would get would be pressure, and like there's a little bit more pressure on you and a little bit more conformity. That's the best word I can use to describe it. Like you're being called to conform just a bit into somebody that that isn't 100%, and it's just like it's 1% off. It feels like this is just beginning, and it feels like you're almost going into just a bit of a protective mode over your self and not being as completely vulnerable as you have been in the past. And so what your higher self was telling me is that you can see this in your interactions with people, and you're gonna it feels like you're maybe being brought people who aren't as forthright and open with you as you would hope they would be. Maybe people aren't as vulnerable as you have experienced in your past, and maybe people feel a little guarded around you. And what I get is that these people are being brought into your awareness so that you can see that you in yourself are guarding yourself just a little bit, and they're coming into your life to kind of reflect this back to you. And so what your higher self was telling me is that you have to stay connected to the divine. You have to keep unconditional love on the forefront of everything you do, and be open and like silly and vulnerable and like translucent to people. I get that this pressure, this tiny little bit of pressure, is not serving your highest purpose well, and that you need to make sure that it's like that inner child. You need to make sure that you're living, that divine existence all the time, which is basically just being joyful and happy all the time, and finding that place. And so I get root chakra because this is possibly what is inhibiting you, is something that's in your physical world right now, family, job, home, something like that, physical, right? So monetary, money maybe. So whatever it is that's making you just a bit guarded, you need to go into that and not allow that fear to take away your vulnerability, and accept that the universe is always there to provide for you. And as long as you stay always connected into this channel, you're going to draw all the people to you that you need to help inspire their own divinity and their own their own connection to the divine just by being in your presence, right? So that's always the key is as long as we're aligned to our divinity, we can help others see their own divinity just simply by holding our own light. And so that's what your higher self was telling me is, we need to be completely loving and open and vulnerable and like almost like childlike, with that childlike innocence all the time, so that everything that comes to us is a reflection of this. And so that's maybe how you know that this is the state you're in, is by looking at the people around you. And if they're all completely open and vulnerable and forthright with information and just like they confide in you, then you know that you're connected into your own divinity. So your higher self was wonderful and an angel. And so with so much love and light.